Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Shazwan bin Muhammad SHA'RIZAL. Nombor metrik 03 DKA 21F1052. Me and my members group IRFAN bin SHABUDIN and IRFAN bin RIZUWAN, and the last one is SYAFIQZUL AIMAN bin AZUWAN. Today we're gonna show you and explain to you about class 3 and class 4. Okay, we go first with 3.0. The SO and SO representative. Okay, let me tell you what is SO. SO means superintending officer. Okay, next we're gonna explain to you about definition of SO. SO definition is the professional in construction industry, mean be he an engineer, architect, or even perhaps quantity surveyor, who is employed by employer and charged with one or more the function of design, control, and administration of the tendering process, administration and supervision of the construction process, and perhaps including some dispute resolutions function as well. 29. In this definition, as we know, in construction site we have many of position like engineer, architect, and quantity surveyor. They have their own function. As engineer, he should do building, and architect, he should do about design, and quantity surveyor, he should do about calculation quantity ingredient that needs in construction. Okay, next we go to
Okay, thank you to my friend Muhammad Shazwan bin Muhammad SHA'RIZAL. So I'm going to continue this presentation. My name is Muhammad IRFAN bin SHABUDIN, number metric 03DKA 21F1003. So I'm going to continue the presentation with duties of SO and SO representative. The superintendent role will be defined by the relevant term of the construction contract and by the common law. In general, the superintendent role is to administer the contract and ensure the contractual obligations are performed. Under a traditional construction contract, the superintendent has two separate and distinct roles. First, to act as agent for the principal, and second, to act as independent certifier. So we're gonna go to acting as agent for principal. What is that? As agent for the principal, the superintendent must act in the principal's best interest and in accordance with the contractual obligation on the principal. Specific function of superintendent when acting as agent include first, issuing the direction to the contractor on behalf of the principal. 2. Approving program. And 3. Approving subcontractor. 4. Controlling employers. And 5. Resolving contract document and ambiguities. And 6. Examining and testing material. And 7. Postpone and suspension of work and ordering variation.
thank you to my friend Muhammad IRFAN bin SHABUDIN. My name is Muhammad SYAFIQZUL bin AZUWAN. My number metric is 03 DKA 21 F1118. So I want to continue with the example of acting as agent for principal. So facts. Peninsula and the superintendent entered into an agreement of agency for the project. AB Group did not know about the agency agreement before agreeing to contract with Peninsula under an AS2124 contract. AB Group was concerned the agency agreement limited the superintendent's discretion. The extension of time provision of the contract required the contractor
Upon becoming aware of delay event, to promptly notify the superintendent in writing of the same, and in so doing to include details of the cause and duration of the delay. The court held that this clause was a condition precedent to the award of an extension of time, and if it was not complete with, the contractor could not rely on the prevention principle to resist a claim for liquidated damage for late completion. So, result, when exercising functions of honesty and impartiality, the superintendent is not acting as the principal's agent in the strict legal sense. Therefore, there was no inconsistency between the two agreements, as the superintendent was still required to act with honesty and impartiality as a certifier, as required under the AS2124 contract.
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Thank you for my friend Shafizul Aiman. My name is Muhammad Rizal, matric number 0T DKA21F1134. I would like to continue about the next point. Is it acting as a certifier? As we know, what is it acting as a certifier? In this role, the superintendent must act as a determiner, assessor, or value under the contract. The superintendent must act honestly, fairly, impartially, and without bias when certifying any claims. As the duty of a certifier override the NGC obligation the superintendent owes to the principal, then the principal cannot direct the superintendent how to act as a certifier. We know the type of issue the superintendent may be asked to certify include: first, extension of time; second, payment of liquidated damage; third, the amount of delay cost payable to the contractor; fourth, valuing variations; 5. Payment certificate; 6. Issue finance certificates and certificates of practical completion; and final, certifying costs incurred by the principal when work is taken out of the hands of the contractor or dispute. As the example, we know that in the Perennial Corporation v Commonwealth of Australia in 1969, the facts is it when the superintendent was acting as a certifier, assessing an extension of time request, like the superintendent made a decision based on the policies of the principal. Second, we know the contractor agreed this was a breach of the role of a certifier and sued for any damage. As the result about the example, the superintendent acting as a certifier must independently and exercise its own discretion. Second, the superintendent could consider the policies of the principal, but it would be wrong to consider himself controlled by those policies. We know the policy is there was an implied term that the principal would not interfere with the superintendent's duties. As we know, certifier and a further duty to ensure the superintendent properly perform his duty as a certifier.
Okay, we go next to superintendent officer role and authorities. Introduction: the role of the construction professional in the modern construction contracts arises from an extremely complex network of relationship of the various participants in the construction project. Therefore, this chapter is to find out the role and authorities of the SO expressed or implied terms in the construction contracts. Okay, we go. The superintendent and president may delegate any power and duties entrusted to him or her by the board, including the administration of colleges and centers, but will be specifically responsible to the board for the execution of such delegate powers and duties. The superintendent and president shall be responsible for reasonable interpretation of board policy in situations where there is no board policy direction. The superintendent and President shall have the power to act, but such decision shall be subject to review by the board. It is the duty of the Superintendent and President to inform the board of such action and to recommend written board policy if one is required. Uh, as we know, in construction site, they have many hazard at there. So, superintendents and president should be responsible to put the sign board at there in construction site. Okay. Next, the superintendent and president is expected to perform the duty contained in the superintendent and president job description and fulfill other responsibilities as may be determined in annual goal setting or evaluation session. Okay, the last one is the superintendent shall be ensure that all relevant all relevant laws and regulation are complied with and that required report are submitted in timely fashion. Superintendent and president should do report to uh, uh, submit to companies, for example. Okay, next I give to my group members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Shazwan. So I want to continue with clause 4.0, SO right to take action. So, notwithstanding any provision in this contract, it is hereby agreed that, firstly, the power of the SO to issue instruction requiring a variation under clause 24 shall be subject to the financial limits as set out in appendix hereto. If the instruction for a variation under clause 24 is more than the financial limits as set out in the appendix, the SO shall obtain the prior written approval of the relevant authorities of the government. So secondly, the contractor shall not be entitled to extension of time or any extra cost or expense or whatsoever arising from compliance with this clause 4.
For finally about conclusion about our presentation in contracting. First, the parties define the works to be performed under the contract in the contract documents. And second, those documents consist typically of the drawings and specifications, but may also include, in certain circumstances, for standard correspondence and other technical descriptions of the proposed works. Third, the parties at the time entering into the contract appoint the SO to check the quality of materials, workmanship, and any other necessary works against the contract documents. And finally, they are not, in any circumstance, required by the parties to direct the contractor as to method of work. We now get the method about the contractor. This is a contractual risk borne by the contractor, upon which he has priced his standard. So that's all for our presentation, and I hope you guys watching and understanding about the clause, and that's all. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.